is Metal Show. Our guest is the legendary drummer Carmine Appice. Carmine, today we're talking with you about your all-star tribute to Cactus. So let's get right into it, if you don't mind sharing us about this.
Let's go. Let's go.
Sure. So tell us about the album. Comes out June 7th. I guess a great place to talk about how you pick some of the artists that appear on here with you.
I just called them. Pretty much. I called them and they were either Cactus fans or friends of mine. That's why we call the album Temple of Blues Influences and Friends. So I found out a lot more people were influenced by Cactus than I thought.
Wow, wow. You know, I got to tell you, Carmine, I also do a show on pop culture, and recently we were talking about the history of the Ed Sullivan Show, and of course, Vanilla Fudge's legendary, appearance on there. Talk about, I mean, that was one of those legendary appearances. I put it right up there with the Beatles. You know, that's one of the things y'all hear people talk about in reference to Ed Sullivan. What do you remember from you guys appearing on there?
On the Ed Sullivan Show. Wow. Well, I remember the good memory was going down the elevator.
Yeah.
In those days, they didn't have automatic elevators. They had an elevator operator. They had some black guy, and we were going down to the stage. You know, you're there a week rehearsing. You know, getting the sound right and the camera angles right. And we said to this guy, I said, "Hey man, how many people watch this show?" And he said, "Oh, about 50 million." And when he said that, my stomach turned. Like I got nervous for a minute. Until I actually got on the drums and started playing. Once I started playing, I was okay. But, you know, to hear 50 million people when you're going down to play live, that was a bit of a nerve wracking thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So, Tom, I'll throw it to you. What do you want to ask Carmine about the new Cactus CD or his history in general?
Absolutely. I got a ton of questions, but I just want to make a comment on the song Evil with Dee Snider singing. The groove on that song, the drums, the guitars, I mean, that is just a phenomenal song. I was lucky enough I played with Dee out in California when he got inducted to the Metal Hall of Fame, Twisted Sister, where he played ahead of those guys.
Yeah.
But what a great tune that is. Who wrote that song? I'm just curious.
That was Hallam.
Really?
Man, in fact, first of all, what about your mustache?
Yeah, I know. I've had that for years too.
Man, I've had this since 1968.
Oh, I think
my manager said you can never get rid of it.
I gotta say, Carmine, in reference to your makeup, your mustache, I think it's the most famous mustache out there next to Alex Trebek.
Yeah, right. And it's getting gray now, so I got to put a little pencil in there to keep so you can see it. But yeah, my manager said you can never get rid of it, and I shaved it off once just for the hell of it. I looked just like my brother Vinny, so I grew it right back. I definitely don't want to look like him. But anyway, that song came from an album called, this is Howlin' Wolf's Electric album. He didn't like it at first, but he didn't like his electric guitar at first either, something like that. And Jeff Beck gave me the album. And he said, if you listen to this album, you see the template for Led Zeppelin on this album, the kind of drum sound and a lot of the stuff that was in there. And Jeff Beck himself took some stuff. So I loved Cactus. I mean, I loved Evil, right? And hold on. I'm doing an interview. Okay, she hung up.
The legend at work. Yeah.
No, anyway, so when I heard the song Evil, I said, "Wow, this is really good." The drum sound, the drum groove, the riff. Yep. Basically, that's where we got it, all from there, except, you know, some of the drum fills and the grooves, everything was done heavier. But the guitar riff, that came from that record. And the drum beat that I'm doing came from that record, except I, you know, updated a little bit. But in 1971, when we did record that, it sounds the same, except the production today is much better. And then I got Dee on it because I knew he was a Cactus fan, because my friend Joe Franco, that took lessons from me when he was young, played in a group with Dee called Widowmaker. And Widowmaker played that song.
Oh, wow.
So when I talked to Joe, I didn't realize I never heard the version. So I told him, hey, dude, you're playing the drum groove wrong. You know, she played a regular beat to it, and it didn't work. You know, the whole thing with that song, the guitar and the drum groove,
Yeah.
make it really cool, and the bass is playing it too. So then I said, by the way, we're doing this new version of it. You think D would sing on it? Because I heard him sing on that one. He goes, "Oh man, he loves Cactus. Just call him." So I called D and I said, "Do you want to do this?" No hesitation. I'm in. I called Doug Pinnick to do a couple of tracks on this album. And I know they were big Cactus fans. When I toured with Blue Murder, Billy Squire, and King's X, I went on their bus and they were playing Cactus.
Wow.
On the bus. So I said, "You guys into Cactus?" He says, "I mean, we love Cactus." So they were on my Guitar Zeus record I did in the 90s. And there was no hesitation with Ty or Doug to do it.
Wow. Wow.
And they both did a tremendous job. As a matter of fact, the first video was Evil. I guess you guys have seen that, right? Yeah. So the next one working on is One Way or Another with Ted Nugent. I'm doing mine on Tuesday, my version in my studio here. You see, I got a studio behind me. And I'll do mine on the 28th. And we're hoping to get Doug done his in LA with the label. We'll set it up. And after seeing Ted's, he did like a Ted, you know, the Madman, you know, Ted the Madman.
You used to play with Ted, so what was like getting back with him?
I did. That was great. That was great. I know Ted since 1967. When Vanilla Fudge used to do gigs with the Amboy Dukes, and then my manager took over his management.
Oh, wow, that's gone back.
So I know him for a long, long time. So his same with him.
I was asking my other co-host, Lethal X, if he had any questions for Carmine.
Lethal X, huh? You don't look very lethal.
Yeah. I'm just taking it all in. I mean, we kind of know you. Was going to do an interview with your brother many years ago. We were out in Vegas one time, didn't work out, but yeah, I mean, you're a legend. That's all I can say.
People ask me,
a lot of people have been inspired.
Oh, thank you. People ask me, who's better, you or your brother? I said, look, I'm the original.
Yeah.
That's all I say, you know. And I've been hailed as the guy that started heavy metal drumming. I mean, at the time it was just called heavy rock. It wasn't heavy metal, you know.
Well,
I think heavy metal started with Metallica and that big album they had.
Yeah, you know, just to put a perspective on this, I mean, you know, I've interviewed Carmine a few times in the past. Always a super nice guy, you know, and we talked about how long he's been doing this. I mean, again, we go back to like Vanilla Fudge being on the Ed Sullivan Show, and I also interviewed your bandmate Mark Stein once, and he was talking about the fact that, hey, John Lord from Deep Purple, you know, rest in peace, John. I actually told Mark that, hey, Mark, you're the guy that kind of influenced me to do what I'm doing. Carmine here actually was the one who influenced John Bonham. I think that's saying quite a lot, you know, about how far back these guys go, you know.
I have a picture of me with my drums and John with his drums that I got for him, which were a double bass drum kit, blonde kid, just like I had on my kit. And, you know, I had them back to back on the same photo. People go, wow, I never knew that, you know. But yeah, I mean, you know, they opened up for Vanilla Fudge. They weren't even wanted on the tour, on the gig, the first gig. We ended up paying half their fee because the promoter didn't want them. We were already sold out. And the promoter said, you know, I don't want them. It's $1,500 for Led Zeppelin. And my agent said, I'll tell you what, you pay half and Vanilla Fudge will pay half. We knew nothing about this. I learned about this like 10 years ago.
What?
You know?
Wow.
So Led Zeppelin owes us $750 and interest. But it was wild because nobody knew them. They kind of got booed and they were going to bring on the Fudge. You know, Spirit was the opening act and they opened before Spirit. And then as we done a few gigs later, because their album wasn't out yet, you know, and they did okay, but people spelled their names wrong. It was like Len Zephless, you know. I mean, it's just I got a poster that says that. It's pretty funny, you know. And I got other posters that say Led Zeppelin and Vanilla Fudge together. And 6 months later, when their album came out, they were as big as we were. Yeah. And that's when he got the drums like mine, and he did a whole tour in '69 with the double bass drums. And I often thought it was funny we'd alternate billing. One day they'd close, one day we close. So, but either way, if you put say his drums on the show, he finished, they take the drums off, and then they put my drums up. It's the same drum set.
Yeah, yeah.
So I figured the audience must have said, "Why did they do that?"
Yeah.
But it was good old days. Those days were great days because it was like there was no business yet.
Yeah.
There's no business yet. It was just musicians recording. Everybody had a record deal. Everybody went out on the road, and we all had a good time. Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, the Cream, The Who, all those bands. We just had a good time. We wrecked hotels together. We had groupies together. We smoked pot together. We did all this illegal drug crap. Sometimes at the festival, they would spike the wine that they had, in the bottles, or on like this running fountain kind of wine. Somebody spike it with acid. You drink it, all of a sudden you're on acid, or you're on mescaline or something. I'm surprised I made it to my age.
Yeah. And Carmine, even though the music industry, as you say, is constantly changing, you find out you're one musician who's found a way to always kind of stay relevant. You find ways to kind of stay in the business and be successful. I mean, even to the point you go back to when you first put out your drum book. I mean, that's remained one of the most successful drum books ever. And people are still referring to it to this day.
Yeah, I mean, and that was done just by mistake. I went into Sam Ash music stores and I saw this drum book, learning how to play rock drums. I had the guy that had Elvis hair with the dip, and this is 1971. We were all hippies, hippies with, leather, fringes of leather, and, the ring. I still have the rings. And, and this guy was like, learning to play rock drums. And I said, oh man, I looked at the material, it was awful. I said, I'm going to write a book. And I wrote the book in 30 days. Instead of wrecking rooms with Cactus or groupies, I took the time for 2 hours a night after the show and wrote the book for 30 days. Wow. And my lawyer gave me a deal. And he said, the good thing is you own the copyright. I didn't even know what that meant back then.
Smart. Wow. Thank God for that, huh?
Yeah, but that book is done unbelievable. I mean, I'm probably at like 450,000 now of that book. That's over a long time, but no drum books did that. There's only a handful of drum books that did that. Mine, there's Stick Control, Syncopation, and maybe one or two more. But I've always been in the top 10 of the all-time best-selling drum books.
Oh, wow.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm going to throw it to my co-host Tom because he's a working musician himself. He's always touring with his band Held Hostage. So I imagine, as a fellow musician, Tom, you must have some more questions for Carmine.
Oh, absolutely. The first question I have is, the first time I actually met you was in Syracuse, New York, when you were doing Drum Wars. A good friend of mine, John Pendergrass, I know you're friends with John. John introduced us when you were. Is that ever going to come back to Drum Wars? I love that.
Well, we did a long time. We did it for 10 years. And it got hard to book because people didn't know what it was. They thought it was a drum clinic, but we made it into a cool show. But now my brother Vinny's doing this thing called Black Sabbath Nights.
Oh yeah.
Which is a lot of the same songs, and it's the same band without me. But it's good. It's really good because we did, when we played, we did Dio, we did Sabbath, we did Blue Murder, we did Ozzy, we did Rod. We did everything. And then we did drum stuff back and forth. And it was a lot of fun being on the road with my brother, Wow. But we did it a long time. I don't know, maybe we'll do a show here and there. But, if we do it again, we have to rehearse, all that. Right now, he does the Black Sabbath nights. I'm doing a show called Tonight's the Night, which I got there's a guy, Rob Cardle, that looks like Rod, sounds like Rod, and have all of Rod's movements. He's been doing it for 20 years. And I went up and saw him in Florida because I had my own version that didn't really work. The musicians weren't professional. And the guy I used 14 years ago, but he's different now. And so I blew it out after 4 gigs. I didn't want to be a babysitter,
Yeah.
And I went up to see this guy because the sax player that played with him, hold on, I got to move my position here.
Hey, go ahead.
The sax player that played with Rod for 14 years. She was like one of the first sax players he had. And So she was playing with this guy, Rob, the Tonight Show. So I went up to see them and I said, oh my God, this guy is like Rod. It looks just like him, sounds like him, runs around the stage like him. Wow. So they said, why don't you come up and play a few songs? I came up and played all the songs that I wrote and co-wrote and played on. We did Hot Legs and Sexy and Passion and Young Turks, You're in My Heart, and the ones I used to play. And we did You Keep Me Hanging On, actually. That was on the first Rod album I did with him. And all those songs, it was an unbelievable reaction when I came out on the stage. The audience went crazy. So they didn't expect it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And I came out and did those songs. After the show, the guy Rob said, why don't we be partners? I said, that's exactly, that's what I was looking for, because I was looking for a way to play those songs. As I went to see Rod, 9,000 people at the Hard Rock down in Florida. And he played 12 songs, about eight or nine of them I was involved in.
Wow, wow.
I did I co-wrote them, I did all the backgrounds, I played on them, did the background vocal, whatever. Yeah. And I saw people getting off on it. I said to myself, this is kind of screwed. I never get to play these songs again. Yeah. I was heavily involved in them. They went big hits all around the world. The album sold, sure, millions and millions. And I never get to play. So I'm going to put my Rod show together. I did it 14 years ago. I went to China with it here and there, except I had guys that played with Rod in the band. Yeah. But that got too difficult. Anytime I wanted to rehearse, it cost me $5,000. Fly this guy in, fly that guy in, and then hotels and the rehearsal studio, for a week. But $5,000 gone, and there weren't guarantees of gigs. And those days, the tribute bands weren't really that happening. Yeah. So we call this the Tonight's the Night, the Rod Stewart tribute experience, music and stories.
Wait, well, I can't wait to see that.
Because it's really, really good. And the band he has is freaking great.
Another thing I want to ask you about, Carmine, a few years ago, you re-released your solo album, Guitar Zeus, put out a nice package through Deco Records. And what I was really amazed at, because you're a great songwriter, as people know, aside from being a great drummer. And what was interesting about listening to the album, I think it finally got the push here in the United States that it really deserved. But, you got different players playing on different tracks, and yet it sounds like a very cohesive album. What do you contribute that to? Because, again, it has a nice flow, and I don't know, but it just sounds very cohesive.
Well, the way that started was crazy, because I was playing with a group with Jeff Watson, Bob Daisley, Joe Lynn Turner. We ended up calling it Mother's Army with a stupid name. I don't know why we called it that. And we screwed around with names like Zeus, and something else, and ended up with that name. And then Jeff Watson just got a guitar deal, coming out of, his band. What's the band he was in? Come on, help me. Night Ranger. Thank you. And I had a solo album 10 years before. This is like 1992, and I said, man, you guitar players are lucky. You come out of a band, bam, you got a record deal. I mean, I 10 years ago, I had a solo album. I'm still looking to get another one, but I'm not a guitar player. Yeah. I said, maybe I should do a guitar album. I said, call it Guitar Gods. And I said, now I'll call it Guitar Zeus. I was kidding around.
Yeah.
All right? Then I went to bed that night. We all stayed at Jeff's house. He had a big house with a studio in it. I went to bed and I'm thinking, Guitar Zeus, man, that's a great idea. I said, I know enough guitar player friends how to play on it. Yeah. So then, I do clinics. I did a clinic with Brian May at the store. When Freddie died, he had nothing to do, so he did some clinics in America. So I did some clinics with him. We were friends anyway. And I said, hey, if I do this album, would you play on it? He said, yeah, I'll play on it. And I ran into Ted Nugent somewhere, the same thing. I ran into the guys from King's X, same thing. And I figured if I can get these guys on an album, everybody would follow, because these were other guitar players were fans of these guys. And then I met Doug Aldrich, and he had a manager that was very, very well known in Japan. And Doug was known in Japan, but not known here.
Yeah.
So he said, you should try my manager. He can get a deal for this. I didn't even think about putting him on the album, because he was nobody then.
Yeah.
So I gave me his manager, Warren White. Bam, he had a deal, good money out of Japan. I said, great. So then I said, okay, now what? So I went to Japan with Tony Franklin, Kelly Keeling, because Kelly sang on the second Blue Murder record. And I was going to use Doug in Japan because he was known there, but he couldn't do it. So I got Mitch Perry. Yeah. So we went and did a Carmine Appice Super Session Volume 2. I did Volume 1 in 1982 with Rick Derringer, Tom Peterson, Eric Carmen, wow. Right? And yeah. Dwayne Hitchens. And we played the Budokan and we sold out. We did other gigs and sold out. You know, so this was Volume 2, and Blue Murder was huge there. But John Sykes had the second Blue Murder without me and Tony.
Yeah.
You know, so we figured we'll play off of that Blue Murder size, and we went over there and played. And I realized how talented Kelly was, you know, as a singer and a guitar player. So when we came back, I said, look, I'm doing this album. What do you got? So he showed me some of his songs. I said, wow, these are great songs. You know, like Soundgarden meets the Beatles.
Wow.
You know, so I said, let's do this album. You do this album with me and we'll work. So I work with him. He's he's like a genius, but spaced out, you know. Yeah. But I had to mold all those songs with him and come up with my own ideas on songs and put it all together. And then we sent it to Tony on a 4-track. And then Tony played his bass. And then it started sounding like Blue Murder meets Soundgarden meets the Beatles.
Wow.
Right. And then we started doing it. And at first guys I got, Ted Nugent, Brian, and the guys from King's X. And then when everybody heard about it, Kelly did a track on Yngwie's album. He said, I want to do it. So I went and brought the tapes to Yngwie's house. I played on his thing. He played on mine. And before you know it, then Slash heard about it. And this one heard and started building momentum. Before I know it, I had all these guys. It broke into charts in Japan really high. We didn't have a deal in America. Everywhere in the world, it sold and did well. And then we did Guitar Zeus 2. Now, this one now is on Polydor in Japan. Same thing. It went all over the world and did well, except America. We couldn't get a deal here because grunge was in. Yeah. But this sounded grungy.
Sure.
You know, but I wasn't known as grunge, so we couldn't get a deal. Then I did Guitar Zeus Japan, Guitar Zeus Korea, and it just wouldn't stop, you know?
Wow.
And then finally I got a couple of deals here, and then, you know, they sold okay with a double album. And then I approached, Deco approached me about doing it as a 25th anniversary box set.
Yeah.
And I said, fine. And then we did an extra couple of songs, Mystified with Tommy from Kiss.
Yeah, Tommy Thayer.
And we did a new video with that, and that was a great song. You know, that Kelly was so spaced out. All I said was, Kelly, hold your iPhone and just sing the song.
Wow.
Forget about it. If you look at that video, you'll see what I mean. It's like kind of like a robotic monster vocal. Yeah. Yeah. And you see with the effect.
Wow.
Tommy played great. I did great on Tony played great. And they put it all together and made a great video. But, you know, times are different now. You know, Deco wasn't like Sony.
No.
Puts the money behind it, you know, but it's still going. He called me the other day for a couple of interviews. He said, think you can get Ted Nugent? I said, I don't know. Ted's doing interviews for this project. I don't want to take him away from this. So I asked Tommy if he would do it. He said, I would do it. But he said, didn't that come out 2 years ago? I said, I know. They just called me. Want some guys to do interviews. I said, so. I said, I'm not doing it because I'm doing this.
Yeah. So let me ask you about the Cactus album. Comes out June 7th. Is it you consider more of a tribute album? Does it feature the other members of Cactus, or is this you and your friends?
Well, this is what it started. The owner of Brian Pereira owns Cleopatra. He's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
He said to me, you know what? Because he's had some other Cactus albums that did well. He said, you know what? I'd love to do an album of all the guys that were influenced by Cactus, because I know, Van Halen and King's X and, you know, Ted Nugent, you know. So I said, well, look, influence, and what about friends?
There you go.
You know, I know like Ted Nugent wasn't influenced, but he was a friend of us. And he loved Cactus. So he said, yeah, great. He said, you think you can do this? I'm thinking, I did Guitar Zeus. I can certainly do this.
Do this, yeah.
You know? So he said, well, we'll do all the old songs. I said, that makes it even easier.
Yeah.
I said, sure. So we did it. So I started it right here in my studio with just drums.
Wow.
Nothing else. I would sit down, Parchment Farm. I sing to myself. I'm singing, oh yeah, the Posh Man, doing that. Got the same tempo the first album had, 247 beats per minute, which is pretty fast for a guy my age, and I did the whole song like that.
Wow.
I said, okay. I gave it to my singer, Jim Stapley, who plays guitar, sings, plays harmonica. So he put guitar, harmonica, and vocal on it. And we sent it to my bass player. Okay, next one way or another. Did the same thing. Sent him. And I said, you know what? I can't do 12 more songs like this. I need something to play to, so I don't have to think about it. So I put a click down, and then I started singing the songs like Evil. I went bam bam drum fill down 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 bam bam drum fill ding ding. One way down 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 long sleep at night down down. I did the whole song like that.
Wow.
And then I played to it, and that was better. One day I'm going to release an album of just the scatting.
Wow.
That I did to this album.
Wow.
It'd be funny. So I did the whole record like that.
Wow.
Which is unusual. It's very unusual. Usually you have a vocal, a guitar, and then you put drums to it. Then you put the bass. But to start with the drums was a unique way to do this, but it was the only way to do it. To save time,
So being a tribute album, when these other guys come
Don't call it a tribute album.
Okay. But
celebration.
There you go. But these guest musicians, you have these friends, you allow them to kind of come and put their spin on, the tunes, or you try to stay as original to the original version?
No, we did. I let them do their own thing on. Like Ted Nugent was the one that really did his own thing. He one way or another had a riff, dead on down, boom, 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 and that went through the whole song. But when the vocal started, he changed his riff.
Yeah.
At first, I went, "Oh man, he changed the riff." I said, "Wait a minute, but I like this." So we left it. So we left it. When we did Parchment Farm, Jim McCarty, our original guitar player, wanted to come in and play. So we had Billy Sheehan on it playing, because Billy told me, anything you want to do that'll celebrate Tim Bogert. That was his main guy.
Wow.
Right? When he grew up, and loved Tim. So I said, you want to play that? He said, yes. So he played not exactly like Tim, not the exact notes, let's put it that, but he played like Tim. I said, I'll let him do whatever he wanted to do. McCarty played the way he plays, not like the original record, but he played the verses and the fills in between the verses. And then I said, Bonham has got to do the solo. And he played it the way he wanted. And I got him from when I did his podcast. And he said, oh man, you did Cactus. Parchment Farm blew my brains out. I said, okay, we're doing a new version. I'd love for you to play on it.
Wow.
He said, okay. No, he played on it. There was a lot of that going on, but some people I didn't know were Cactus fans, like Steve Stevens. I used to hang out with him in Japan all through the 90s. And I lived in LA. I'd see him a lot in LA. And then when I told him about this, he goes, yeah, man, not even okay. So I put him on this song called Oleo, which Billy Sheen's on there, and Tim Bogert did a solo. So he did a Tim Bogert bass solo on there, which is awesome. Just like Tim. Different notes, but just like Tim. And then I found out that Steve Stevens from Brooklyn, and Cactus was a big influence on him.
Wow.
I didn't know that. Doug Aldrich, the same thing. Now that song that Doug's on, interesting, because number one, Parchment Farm was a template from Van Halen for Hot for Teacher.
Wow.
And that was told to me by Alex. They loved Cactus. I have tapes of them somewhere playing Cactus songs when they're in the clubs. So Eddie, I talked to Eddie on the phone a lot, and Alex, and me and Alex and Ginger Baker did our hands in the Hollywood Walk of Fame at the Guitar Center. So we were all friends, and that's when Alex told me that stuff. But there's I'd call Eddie and would say, yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm doing Vanilla Fudge. I got it back together. And Eddie says, fuck Vanilla Fudge, put Cactus back together.
Wow.
You know? All from Rick Derringer now.
Oh, cool. Yeah. See all the famous friends he has?
Yeah. I have to call you back. I'm doing an interview, okay? Okay.
Yeah.
Funny.
Rick,
That's funny, right?
Yeah, Rick
Rick
Derringer. I love he goes all the way back like to Montrose even.
Yeah, he goes back to me. Well, that way.
Yeah.
We did a lot of shows together. He's an old friend. Anyway, so Van Halen, Parchment Farm, there's a thing that did called Eruption.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Eruption. It's not really a song.
It's a solo, yeah.
It's just a chord. Yeah. Then he goes bam, bam, another chord, and he's still playing. Guess where that come from?
Cactus.
The beginning of a song called "Let Me Swim."
Wow. I have to check that out.
It's extended.
Okay.
So on this album, I extended it. So it's similar to Eruption, but then it goes into the song. So I said, I need a guitar player that could really smoke that. Like Eddie did. So I got Doug Aldrich.
Wow.
So he did that. So
it's great, Carmine, to see all these people kind of put their spin on your classic tunes.
It was great. Have you heard the record yet?
I've heard the single so far, but I've already ordered the album. I'm getting it June 7th. I've already pre-ordered it.
You got to hear the rest of the album. It's great. I mean, the song called Guiltless Glider was a real heavy song. It's got Bumblefoot on it and Phil Soussan on bass and me. And originally, our singer sang it like Rusty Day, our original singer. But then I met Ripper Owens at a Nico McBrain party down here.
Yeah.
And I said, man, I'm doing this album. I said, yeah, man. You know, I think he was into Cactus too. I'm not sure. But he did it. He put such a different take on it that I said, I love what my singer did, but I also love this. So I just let's use it as a bonus track.
That's cool. Yeah.
It was so cool. And, it just went on and on. Like I needed a blues, someone to sing the blues.
Yeah. I got to share with you, Carmine, my co-host, Tom, on his last two albums, he had Ripper Owens as his featured vocalist. So maybe you could talk a little about that, Tom.
Oh, yeah. Ripper's great. That guy is one of the most melodic singers out there. People don't realize how good he can sing anything. We did heavy stuff. We did a ballad that he sat down. He created a choir with his voice.
Yeah. That's what he did with this one.
Yeah, it's just incredible. So
I was going to ask you high voices, low voice.
Oh, yeah.
He created a really eerie, weird thing for the song. He's awesome. He's awesome.
He's a great guy, too. I talked
really to him. Good guy. Hung out with him. Good guy. And, it's all become like that. I said, I didn't know you guys were a fan, So it became, influencers and friends. So then I'm talking to my friends from Foghat, right?
Yeah.
And Roger and I know Forever and his wife. We go out to dinner when they're down here in Florida. So I get these bands in town, everything. They said, Froghat #1 on the Billboard Blues charts.
Yeah.
I said, wow. Robin Trower, #1 on the Billboard Blues chart. I said, whoa, wait a minute. These are all the same kind of music Cactus is.
Yeah.
So I talked to the label, the owner again. I said, you know what? We got to market this as a blues album. Because, as a pop album, you can't do nothing. Like my instrumental album with Fernando Perdomo should have been in the instrumental charts. The instrumental part of to get a nomination, maybe as instrumental.
Yeah.
They put me in the pop area with Taylor Swift.
You got
instrumental album. What the fuck is that?
I don't know.
So
that's screwed up.
So I said to Brian, the owner, I said, if we push it towards the blues market, we might be able to get on the blues Billboard charts and maybe get a nomination for the best blues album or compilation or something.
Yeah.
And then because the album cover looks like Sgt. Pepper. Like everyone that played on the album is on the cover.
Yeah.
So he said, you know what? We should call it Temple of Blues.
I love that. Yeah.
I said, Temple of Blues, Influences and Friends. I said, let's do it. So we changed the whole thing to Temple of Blues. All the artwork was a temple now.
Wow.
With all the faces on it. And you open up the LPs, it's got all that stuff,
Yeah.
And
wow.
oh, hold on. I got the album cover right here. Hold
Hey,
on.
let's see it. Let's see it. Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, this is fun, guys.
It is great. What a bunch of history. I mean, Jesus, he's iconic.
You gotta have him back after you get a chance to hear the whole album.
I'm gonna submit that album. I'm a voting member in the Grammys. I'm gonna submit that album to the Grammys for him. They don't. He doesn't.
I don't know what I did with the album, the LP.
Well, we seen the picture. We posted it today. Announced we were doing this. There you go.
Can you see that?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool.
All right. So when I told them I want like Sergeant Pepper, they put those Sergeant Pepper outfits on everybody. I said, no, not Sergeant Pepper, just like Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah.
You know? So then the album, the single comes out, and now last week on the Amazon charts, pre-order for Blues, we were number 6.
Oh, right? Wow! Congratulations, Carmine.
Right? And number 1 was Slash in his Blues album.
Oh wow!
Right? So. And regular albums, we were number 315. That's the difference.
Well, I think June 7th is also the release date for the new Bon Jovi. So it'd be interesting to see which album goes number 1, your album or their album.
Well, Bon Jovi's a blues album too?
No, and I'm just saying it comes out the same day.
Oh yeah, I know, yeah. But that's good. So I'm doing a lot of interviews. We got 2 pre-order guys doing this.
Well, Carmine, it was great talking to you again. It always is. I definitely think we'll have to have you back down the line once we've got a chance to hear the entire album. But just based on the single alone, man, I know it's going to be kick-ass.
Yeah, it kicked, dude. This album kicks ass. Anything I do
kicks ass.
I make sure it kicks ass. I ain't going to do any shit.
Yeah.
It may not be like the new metal today, when everything's a brrr, and guitars sound like buzzsaws.
Carmine,
and you got that, and you got the voice, and you listen to a verse and go, what did he say? I don't understand one word.
Yeah.
Which is, look, it developed into that, which is great. But I always say this: when did the word heavy metal start?
I really don't know.
It all used to be hard rock, heavy rock.
Go. Yeah, there's a distinction. Yeah.
Bon Jovi, not Bon Jovi. Black Sabbath was hard rock. Everything was hard rock. We did a show with Steel Mill with Bruce Springsteen, Cactus, and Black Sabbath.
Yeah, going back to
it was all hard rock.
Even Bon Jovi was considered heavy metal because he had long hair.
I know. Come on.
Yeah. Okay,
heavy
Carmine,
metal.
Great talking to you, my friend.
As I said before, heavy metal started with the buzzsaw sound, Metallica. That's why I think it started.
I think you're right, my friend. Maybe Sabbath before that.
No, Sabbath didn't have that buzzsaw sound.
No. Yeah.
Listen to Paranoid. Is that a buzzsaw sound? Or even Iron Man. Down.
I think they started the drop tuning of it. I think.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think Jimmy Page started that.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah, he did. He used to drop tune.
Well, we got to go, guys. Otherwise, we're going to get cut off. But thanks, Carmine.
Ciao, bro.
Have you back.
Okay, man. See you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Damien here. If you like today's show, please be sure to subscribe by clicking the link in the lower right-hand corner or on our page. Thanks for tuning in.